Tell me about Kevin.
He's taken off, definitely, yeah.
Is Kevin bright?
Yes, Kevin's bright.
Tell me about Kevin. Is he one of your brighter kids?
He probably tries harder, but his marks are probably on the average.
Kevin's computer teacher at school says he's average intelligence.
Oh. I know better.
It's amazing how you can see other people over cross country.
Or in a different side of the world than you are. It's really neat. It's kind of like the Jetsons, how you can talk to other people.
This textbook is brand new right now. 5 years from now, we'll probably still be using it. Why do I want my kids to read that when they can be getting the most up-to-date information on our CD-ROM materials or on internet?
My message to school people is there's a parade, you've got to get in front of it or it's going to leave you behind.
The parade he's talking about, the high-tech information age parade, is well underway. We're living in the digital age right now. When was the last time you got cash from a bank teller instead of an ATM? Can you remember when supermarket cashiers did not use scanners? Our society is using the computer as its central tool for communicating and creating knowledge. But in most of our schools, our children are still being taught the same way they were 50 years ago. That parade is not slowing down. How much longer can schools stay on the sidelines?
The Merrill Report, Promises, Promises, is made possible by the people of Toyota. And by the Ford Foundation, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trusts, and Carnegie Corporation of New York.
For years, technology has been promising to revolutionize education. Thomas Edison's film projector was introduced in 1896 with the promise that it would make schools so attractive that, quote, a big army with swords and guns couldn't keep boys and girls out of it. That did not happen.
The Wisconsin School of the Air presents American Authors.
Then came radio schools of the air in the 1930s. Enthusiasts predicted this technology would soon be as common in the classroom as the blackboard. Wrong again. In the 1950s, it was television's turn to promise a revolution in the way children learn.
Communism, a special 5-part series for students.
Television is visual, and we must never be content with just the teacher, a textbook, and chalkboard.
That promise was also broken. New technology and new promises kept coming throughout the 60s. Language labs, teaching machines, 8mm film strips, large-screen multimedia presentations, and finally the earliest computers.
There is no doubt, however, that technology will have immense effects upon all courses of instruction. It will determine the shape of the school of the future, and it will change the role of the learner, the teacher, the administrator, and the educational media specialist.
Despite all those promises, not much has changed. Schools still look pretty much the same.
We now have a new generation of educational hardware and software that really can make a revolutionary difference in the classroom, and it's time to use it.
The new technology is built around the modern high-speed computer and includes modems, CD-ROMs, and the Internet, the worldwide computer network. Today's technology is fundamentally different from yesterday's film strip or slide projector. Those were one-dimensional tools, the schoolhouse equivalent of this hammer. Think of it this way. A hammer can increase your ability to drive in nails, and that's about it. It's a tool for your hand. It can't tell you where to drive the nails in, what size nails to use, or whether you're driving them in straight. It certainly can't help you design a house or work out a table of mortgage payments. A computer, a tool for your mind, can do all those things and more. Of course, the computer can be used as a simple tool for practicing math skills or for word processing. But students using computers can also explore the galaxy, tour a palace in Europe, or create their own artwork. Students not only learn more, but using the computer, they can create their own knowledge. Quite naturally, they take ownership of what they create and become more interested, more motivated learners. Most students, unfortunately, don't get to do things like that on their computers. And it's not because schools don't have computers. They have 4 million of them. That's roughly 1 computer for every 10 or 11 students. For a host of reasons, old obsolete facilities, time, money, federal policies, and some deeply ingrained attitudes, most schools treat computers as if they were one-dimensional tools, the educational equivalent of this hammer. Schools have been buying computers for a dozen years or more, using them to drill students and to keep track of grades and attendance. Most of the computers in school today are outdated, incapable of running today's complex computer programs. Schools are now buying more powerful machines, but they still have trouble keeping up with their students.
Kids come to school today very much in tune with computers, video, the electronic games. They know that world.
But for the most part, their teachers do not know the world of computers, because from the very beginning, schools have kept computers in special laboratories.
Putting computers in labs, like many other parts of implementing technology, kept teachers away from technology and kept teachers technologically illiterate.
But as teachers who know technology have discovered, computers can literally open the classroom to a world of ideas and information.
Many of the functions of teaching and many of the functions of learning, which historically we have chosen to do in the place or in the style we call classroom, can now in the 90s be done other ways.
Hi everyone, we're down here at about 35 feet of water on the bottom. As you know, Bob, our research here is to look at the interactions between plants and animals on the bottom.
This diver is talking to students. He's in the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of the Galapagos Islands, but his image is being transmitted live via satellite to students in 25 places. Each year, the Jason Foundation for Science sends researchers on expeditions across the globe and beams live video back. Students don't just watch passively. The technology lets them participate. On this voyage, students at various downlink sites remotely piloted Jason, the robotic submarine, along the cold, murky ocean floor.
There we go. He's scooting back. Not too
Okay,
far.
now go forward. And liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour on the first...
And when the Space Shuttle Endeavour blasted off in June 1993, technology allowed students in Charleston, South Carolina to join the mission. While the astronauts circled the globe, the students in Operation Can Do talked with the shuttle and with NASA ground control. As Endeavour drifted across northern Africa, students monitored weather conditions and maneuvered the camera in the shuttle's payload, waiting for the right moment to photograph the Sahara Desert. The Jason Project and Operation Can Do demonstrate how today's technology allows students to communicate with anybody, anywhere.
Okay, so that looks pretty good.
For example, every school day, students in 20 public schools in the United States and around the world meet in cyberspace. They're part of a project called the Global Schoolhouse. These are fifth graders at Long Branch Elementary School in Arlington, Virginia. They're in Glenview, Illinois. These students are in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and this is Yvonne Andre's class at Jefferson Middle School in San Diego, California.
Arlington, introduce yourselves and say hello to everybody.
Hello. Hi. We're at Long Branch School in Arlington, Virginia, and my name is Carla Schutte, and I've got 8 fifth graders.
Students in these 4 schools can see and hear each other. Today, they're talking to a computer scientist at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory just outside San Francisco. The video and audio signals are being transmitted over the internet using See software developed by Cornell University. Students also meet with astronauts, senators, scientists. They've had conversations with former Surgeon General C. Everett Koop and the anthropologist Dr. Jane Goodall. But they do more than talk. Students also do original research. Let me ask, in California, what kinds of things you can imagine doing or you'll be doing with this network?
I'm in the energy group, and I use See to find out some information about energy.
And also use Telnet to ask people questions or put up a question so I'll find out an answer for it.
You said you're in the energy group. What does that mean? Are you with other schools?
I'm with other schools, and we're studying future energy sources.
Mrs. Schutte, what will these fifth graders be doing?
Well, they're going to be researching information on the internet so that they can do collaborative projects with the other 5 schools that we're working with. We have a school in California, we have one in Utah, one in Nebraska, and an affiliate school in Australia.
And what kind of information?
Weather information. We're going to be collecting information about weather and natural disasters.
How about anybody in Illinois?
We're working on a disaster preparedness program with 5 other schools in our cluster, and we're compiling information to help people in the community understand how to be better prepared for particular natural disasters.
Tell me where else you're communicating with. You're in California, but where else? What other parts of the country or the world?
I talked to Larry from the Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and he sent us really neat pictures of satellite pictures
of different planets.
So this is an adult you're communicating with?
Talk to adults because kids are usually not up.
Uh-huh. So that's another thing is what grade are you in?
We're both in 8th grade.
That's 8th grade. We're in 5th grade here. Does that also happen that you break down these age barriers that it doesn't really matter?
That's right. Our weather cluster has students from grade 3 through grade 8. So we are all working at different levels, but we're working on the same topic and sharing and pooling our efforts. It's really a collaborative effort.
Let me ask, in California.
What do you say to that? If people say, well, you're just in 7th grade, or you're just in 8th grade, you're too young.
So you're in 6th grade?
I'm in 6th grade.
Loud.
I'm in 6th grade, and I don't think it matters how old you are or what age you could be.
And Yvonne, what do you say if people say, well, these kids are, they aren't old enough, they aren't mature enough?
What I say is that we're all in this together, and if we don't start learning side by side, it's going to all pass us by. And I learned quite a bit from my students. I think it's a very sharing, symbiotic relationship.
It has allowed me to model, work side by side with them, not be afraid to be the one who is the giver of all knowledge and knows it all.
You're not that anymore.
No. I realize that there's a lot that I am learning right with them because technology and knowledge is changing daily. And so we're learning side by side.
So when we have a new piece of technology, a new piece of hardware and software, we all sort of attack it together.
And what they do is they watch me learning, and they learn problem-solving skills and troubleshooting skills. And sometimes they learn it first, and they teach me, and that's great, and they love it.
To someone my age, this is astounding. I mean, it's kind of scary. Is it amazing or scary to any of you kids?
It's amazing how you can see other people over cross country.
or in a different side of the world than you are. It's really neat. It's kind of like the Jetsons, how you can talk to other people.
What do your parents say when you tell them, oh, well, we talked to somebody in California, we talked to somebody in the United Kingdom? What are your parents' reactions? Have you told them about it?
Nice and loud. Good.
I told my mom about it, and she came down one day, and she was amazed about it. She told her friend, and one of her friends wants to come down one day and look at it.
Anybody else with stories about home?
Well, this is Glenview, Illinois, and, well, our parents thought it was pretty interesting considering that they grew up in an age where computers were just getting started, and now we're using them and integrating them so much into school and entertainment and stuff like that. They think it's pretty amazing.
Okay, now let me talk to my gang here. What happens when you go home? Let's talk to this young
My
lady.
dad says, well, if I ever heard about that when I was little, I would say it was impossible if I hadn't seen it.
A lot of technology has come into the schools over the years, and it's come and with all kinds of great promises. Oh, this will revolutionize education. And then it's had no impact and disappeared. Is it likely that perhaps that could happen here?
I don't even like to think that that's going to be a possibility. I think that it may take longer in some cases, but this is the future.
What we're looking at is absolutely the future, and the people that realize it and sort of move ahead are going to be the ones that have the advantage.
This may be the future, but right now it's too expensive for most schools. It costs about $5,000 to set up just one global schoolhouse classroom, and between $800 and $2,000 a month to run it. For this experiment, the bills are being paid by the National Science Foundation, AT&T, Sprint, and several other large national companies. But money is not the major obstacle to a technological revolution in our schools. Last year, schools spent $2.4 billion on technology. Buildings themselves represent a far more formidable barrier. 31% of our schools were built before World War II. Another 43% were thrown up almost overnight during the baby boom of the 50s and 60s. These are yesterday's buildings trying to run today's technology.
That's a major problem. You're dealing with buildings that were built in the 1870s and the 1910s and the 1940s when the electrical connections that you needed were likely to be 1 or 2 plugs for a classroom, if that.
This is what can happen when new technology gets plugged into old buildings. Clark High School in New Orleans caught fire and burned last April when computers short-circuited the fuse box. In this city, the average school is 55 years old, and the basic wiring inside can't satisfy technology's thirst for electricity. That's the situation here at 117-year-old McDonough Elementary School. This school hasn't had an electrical upgrade since 1952. What causes you to blow fuses here?
There's an overload. We have too much equipment that the teachers need to use in the classrooms for the circuitry to handle. So as soon as one more thing is plugged in, it overloads the circuitry and fuses blow.
Give me an example.
When the teachers plug in the microwave at lunchtime to heat their lunches, sometimes we blow fuses. Sometimes the teachers have 2 fans in their rooms. If all of the teachers turn on both of the fans, then the fuses blow.
You mentioned the microwave oven and the fans, but what about the technology? You have computers in the school?
Yes, we do have computers. And the computer lab is right down the hall, and if you'll notice as we walk that there's an outlet plugged outside of the room, it's because the wiring in the room is not adequate for the computers. We have an air conditioner in that room. The teacher can use the air conditioner or she can turn on the computers. She can't use both.
It's a choice?
It's a choice. And the choice is daily to use the computers.
Now those fuses, how often do you blow a fuse?
We've been lucky. It's been about a week. But I've been here 2 weeks as the principal, and I've bought about $25 worth of fuses so far.
McDonough is not an isolated example. New Orleans has 124 public schools, and nearly half of them are in the same boat, literally unplugged from the technological revolution.
We have gone in the last 200 years from a tremendous shift in society. We were an agricultural society where the main power base was in land. Then we went to an industrial society where the main power base was in capital and money. Now we're in the information age where knowledge and access to technology determines power.
You don't have the power to give the kids that power.
We don't, that's correct.
This old fuse box regulates the power supply for Geraldine Meyer's 5th grade classroom and its 12 computers.
Do you hear that? It's not going as fast as it could. If you come a little closer, they work a little faster when they get enough energy in them.
And there's not enough energy coming through?
No, because it's taken a long time to get things done.
Now you just have one on now. Suppose you wanted to use all of them.
Well, when I put all on, it slows it down a little bit more.
When they say if you want the sound off, press yes or no, and when you press no, you don't want the sound off, sometimes it just stops when you press the N, and you gotta reset it.
Why does that happen?
I guess because it's not getting so much, it's not getting enough energy.
Not enough energy coming in. Well, that must be frustrating for you. Wouldn't you like to be on the computer?
Yeah.
The teachers in this school never know when the power will quit, so they use computers only early in the morning or after school, when there's less demand for electricity. So how do you explain this to these bright young kids who'd like to be on computers?
Well, I think by now they're beginning to adjust. It's not easy, but they're adjusting to the fact that sometimes they cannot use a computer, and sometimes we can.
It sounds like you almost have to go and say to some other teachers, excuse me, would you leave your lights off because I need
Well, we have pulled energy from other rooms. We're pulling some from the hallway, and I have used the energy across the hall and in another room. I just buy all of these long extension cords and I hook into other classrooms when they're not using their rooms. That's the only thing I can do.
So you have to go steal some energy
Yes, yes, from the other rooms. That's what we've been doing.
I think it must be very tough for you as a teacher.
It is. It is.
Next, Ken Ducote took us to Forshey High School, another school without sufficient power to run its computers. The warranties on all these machines have already expired, even though not one student has used them.
I mean, these computers have been covered like this for 2 years now?
About a year since they came in. About 2 years ago, we found out we were getting the program. So they've been boxed away, waiting for the electrical power now for a little over a year.
Just sitting here?
Just sitting there unused. So we've lost, because we did not have sufficient electrical power to take advantage of them, we lost time, which cannot be recaptured, and another year of students passed through without being able to benefit from these.
So the kids walk by every day and they look in here and they see, you know, look but don't touch.
That's correct.
But before any schools in New Orleans can be rewired for technology, there are $500 million in more pressing repairs to be made, like fixing holes in a roof.
What's the message do you suppose the kids get when they come to a school like this? It doesn't have the energy to run computers. You've got 12 nice computers down there and you can't run them. And then they come up here and the room's closed because the roof is leaking. What's the message?
Well, we try to get the teachers and the students to use this as a challenge, that despite the facility limitations, we're still going to learn. But we know that there are subtle and not so subtle messages conveyed by these old buildings, that education must not really be that important, and that the children must not be really that important.
So we'll need to retrofit and rebuild if we're going to give our children what they need. Last year, Congress set aside $200 million for emergency school repairs, but retrofitting for technology will cost billions, not millions. Money was a problem here at Summit Parkway Middle School in Columbia, South Carolina, so the principal asked everyone to help out. The school board, parents, charitable organizations, and the local business community all pitched in. And now the school has at least one computer in 30 of 75 classrooms. Not good enough, says Principal Joe Hecker.
Our goal is that every child should have the opportunity to touch a computer every day.
Her school may not have enough computers, but it does have Doug Wood. He applied for a teaching job here 2 years ago.
Doug came in and he sat down and he told me all the experiences that he had had and that he wanted to be the leader in these areas, that he could bring children into the 21st century with technology, that he could excite 7th grade students about world cultures. 7th grade children don't care about anybody but themselves. They don't want to know about world cultures.
South Carolina's folder, Vermont's folder, Four Corners, and other teachers across the country who are working on...
Wood teaches 7th grade geography. This year, his students are studying Japan by communicating with Japanese students on the island of Hokkaido. Throughout the year, both classrooms will regularly exchange electronic mail. The letters, personal histories, accounts of life in each country, are transmitted instantly over computer networks.
How do you do? This is my first letter to you, so let me introduce myself first. My name is
Tomoko Kondo. I'm a girl in the 12th grade and 18 years old. My hobby are watching movies, skiing, listening to music.
In my family, there are 4 people: my mother, my father, my sister, who is 15, and myself. My sister is Sachi. Sachi means happy.
All we really do is we're really comparing our lifestyle to the Japanese lifestyle.
I wanted to have a program designed for kids to learn more about other places. We incorporate geography, we incorporate reading, we incorporate writing, we incorporate science, we incorporate math. So it's truly an interdisciplinary exploratory.
You don't seem to be a traditional teacher. You don't stand up there and talk. You seem to say, okay, kids, go do that, go do that. And you can trust the kids to go do what they're supposed to do?
Yes, I am a facilitator of learning. That's exactly how I look upon it, in which I give them an idea and plant the seed in their head, and they just take it from that standpoint and broaden their own horizons. One of the things that I want the kids to be, I want them to be self-directed learners.
We want to know so much about the computers in the technological world that he doesn't have to order us to go to our computers and do something. We want to go there, and it's not a matter of him telling us what we want to do. It's what we want to do and want to learn that makes us go to our computers and work on them and explore on them.
This class is more laid back than all our other classes. All our other classes, we usually go in there and pull out our books and show them our homework. But in this class, we usually come here and we talk about what we did, and then he just lets us go to our computers and do what we're supposed to do, but he doesn't like order us around, sort of like the other teachers do.
Do you agree that the other classes are more organized and
Yes.
the teacher tells you? I'm not. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yes, they're more organized, but I think we get a lot more out of it in
They
here.
are here.
In here because there's just so many more opportunities to expand on our knowledge.
To use technology to its fullest, do you have to be pretty flexible in the curriculum?
Oh, well, yes. You have to completely redesign the way you set up your classroom if you're going to use technology and integrate it totally into your curriculum. This technology in this classroom is a supplement to our curriculum. It allows us to do certain things. It adds on to certain things. It is not a replacement.
But supplement, you're saying I can't just tack it on to my scope and sequence curriculum where I'll teach you this and teach you that and teach you this and teach you that.
It must be intertwined within your curriculum. It must be a component, just like everything else is. It must not be a replacement. It must be the children must have a reason for doing it, a reason for using it, a reason to enhance their skills, whatever they're doing in the classroom. That's the whole reason why I started doing this in the first place.
He has made a total difference here. We have youngsters who stay after school with him every day. High school kids now who are coming back, begging to just be in his classroom in the afternoons. I don't know how the young man does it.
Now you've got boxes of textbooks over there that haven't even been opened. And the kids don't seem to be carrying around a textbook. And why is that?
That is because of the fact that sometimes we can get really bogged down in a textbook. A lot of teachers feel that they must have a textbook in order to get through the day. I mean, they must have that page 1, page 2, we're going to cover this chapter this week and this chapter that week. I don't think that's the way we should be doing it because I think we are limiting the amount of knowledge a student can gain on his own or her own. I mean, when a kid can get on the internet and can have the opportunity to tap into any Gopher server in the world and gather information, I don't think I should be the one limiting him from that or her from that.
Instead of using a textbook, the computers, they show action. I mean, a textbook is just a piece of paper and you read it. But on computers, they show action. You can listen to music, you can watch tapes, and you actually feel and see what it's like. And in textbooks, you just can't get that experience.
I don't think the kids should have to depend upon what an author says. They should have the opportunity to look upon all kinds of different ideas and not just the perspective of one person and not the perspective of just me either. It would be so much easier for me to sit there in front of a classroom and open up a textbook and say, well, this on page 1, write it down, this is what he says, this is the gospel truth, blah, 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 and just go on my business. It's a lot harder to give up that control and allow the student to be the facilitator of his or her own learning.
Well, if it's harder, why should I do it?
Because of what the kids get out of it.
Which is?
They get a greater sense of themselves, a value of their own work, and therefore they're going to put more into it.
Is it tough to go from this class to some other class?
It's sort of like going from the future to the Stone Age because it's just so different because you have all these computers in here and it's really fun because you get to explore on the computers and you know what you're doing half the time. The other half you're just exploring. And then you go into there and you know everything and you just sit there and work in a book for like 30 minutes and you just get so bored of it that you just want to scream and leave.
So when the bell rings, you go back to the Stone Age. Unfortunately, the Stone Age is where most of the students in this school are stuck. There aren't enough computers to go around, and Wood's geography class is only for students in a gifted and talented program called Alert. If other kids in this school had this opportunity, would they learn just as much?
Well, I don't know. If some
Well,
of them
let's stay
would.
with him. Let's stay with him.
I don't know if some of the students really enjoy this to stay with it, but we've been in Alert for a couple years, so we really like to explore new stuff, and some students just sit in class and do nothing.
Would anybody else argue that, as this young man did, that, half the kids in the school would benefit from this? Yeah.
If you picked the right half, they would. Because there are certain kids that just, no matter what, you could have anything in here and they just wouldn't want to learn. They wouldn't take the time.
I asked your kids in this gifted and talented class if they thought the other kids in the school would benefit from the exposure to this technology. And for the most part, they said no, they didn't think most kids would benefit. Do you agree?
No, not at all. I believe that children from all kinds of lower socioeconomic situations could benefit with this program or benefit with technology. I think that I've seen schools in the lower part of the state, in rural areas. I've seen other teachers who teach in low-income situations, and I've seen technology work successfully. So it can work in any level with any child.
You don't have to be gifted to benefit from all this?
No, not at all.
But schools often assume that students labeled gifted are the only ones who can be trusted to control the technology.
Adults think that when children can behave like adults, they are more likely to be allowed adult responsibilities. Therefore, those we think of as brightest, which is to say more adult-like, more verbal, more facile, more quick, more experienced, they're more likely to be given some independence. Those that we think of as just kids, we need to control.
The flip side of that thinking is also common. Educators assume that students who need remediation have to have it hammered into them. So for them, this computer is a one-dimensional tool, the educational equivalent of a hammer, and they're the nails. But what happens when the assumptions are wrong? This is the story of 13-year-old Kevin Faria, a shy young man who moved to the United States from Trinidad 2 years ago. Tell me about Kevin.
He's taken off, definitely, yeah.
Is Kevin bright?
Yes, Kevin's bright.
Tell me about Kevin. Is he one of your brighter kids?
He probably tries harder, but his marks are probably on the average. He's working at his 8th grade level. He's on grade level.
Kevin's computer teacher at school says he's average intelligence.
I know better.
Kevin Faria, the boy who is somehow both bright and average, lives with his mother and older brother in the Dorchester section of Boston.
Okay. See you later.
Later.
Okay, bye. Kevin is perfect. He really is a perfect child, you know. I mean, there's nothing that you can say bad about him. He's a hard worker, and I mean, nothing is too good to say about Kevin. I've never ever had any problems with him, none whatsoever.
Kevin is in the 8th grade at Grover Cleveland Middle School. He goes to Susan McDonough's lab twice a week, where the computers methodically drill students in basic skills. Kids in charge, the computer in charge?
The computer is definitely in charge. It is only in sequence. It's designed to not let the student pick activity number 2 until they've finished number 1.
These are 8th graders. What level did you start them at?
We started them off at a 2nd grade level. They've all, I think everyone has passed the 2nd grade level test. They've gone up to the 3rd level, up to the 4th level. Most are working probably right now at a 6th grade level.
This is often disparaged, called drill and practice. People put it down.
This actually does teach. There are sections that give a pre-test. It will say, now we're going to get actually into the lesson. It will actually do the teaching. These basically can't teach a whole year's worth of work on their own.
But are the students learning? Last year, this lab was the center of the school's reading program. But according to McDonough, after a year of computer instruction, there was no difference in test scores between the kids who used the computers and those who did not.
At the end of the year, we took a look at the marks, and they were exactly the same as the year before. They were not, it didn't show that this did anything extra because it was used as part of the program.
The computer clubhouse. Do you know about the computer clubhouse?
No, not at all. Computer clubhouse?
Yeah. You should ask Kevin. He's in the computer clubhouse. He's never told you about that?
Mm-mm.
Every day after school, Kevin takes the subway to the computer clubhouse, which is near Boston Harbor. There, the average student who tries magically turns into a bright young man who creates.
Kevin's done some amazing work here. Just really, explored some tools that he really likes, enjoys making games, started out doing a lot of pictures and drawing, and, keeps doing more and more sophisticated things. And it's really, you see this happen, you really begin to wonder, where is it going to go? And I don't know, and I can't wait to see.
Sam Christie directs Boston's Computer Clubhouse, part of the Computer Museum. Completely voluntary and free, the program attracts about 24 young people from all over Boston. Here they control the computers.
Really what we have are tools. We see the computers as tools. We have software tools on the computers, and ourselves, the sort of mentors, people who help the young people and the staff, are really resources for the kids. And the idea is that these kids come in and sort of begin to work on projects that they want to work on. And it really is their own ideas that gets them started and keeps them going. A lot of the kids who come here may not be students may not be performing in school, but within them there's a real drive, a real energy, a real interest in learning and exploring. And what happens is I think it's really brought out here.
Mrs. Faria says the Computer Clubhouse has changed Kevin's life.
Very good. He really loves the computers, and he seemed to be knowing them from the outside to the inside. He knows all about it. He goes through it thoroughly, very, very thoroughly. And so I think he's going to make that his life's ambition. I think so, yeah.
How is this different from what you do at school?
Fun. It's just more fun, you know. Teachers don't have to tell you, do this, do that. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, you know. But
what about school? What is the computer like at school? I was watching you today.
Sucks.
Why?
Because you kind of you can't really do nothing, just do what the computer say.
Or the computer's in charge of you?
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough computer time at school. And he says they're sort of outdated. And he's so interested in the models that they have at the clubhouse, you know. He complains that those at school, they don't have a memory. And I mean, lots of little things like that.
Does it make school boring?
Yeah.
It does. So in that computer class, are you bored?
Well, yeah, because like all the things that it showing you and telling you how to, I know how to do it already. So to me, it's a waste of time. But
So you mean you know when you're doing those drill and practice, you already know this stuff?
yeah,
So you just do it anyway, right?
yeah.
What would you rather be doing?
I'd rather be here, you know.
At the clubhouse, ooh, well, I think he is. There's so many different ones there that he can use, you know, and so many little things that he can do. Not little things, but big things that he does, you know, that he would never be able to do at school.
Show me more.
Okay. So, this is 2 pictures. Drew, colored them, and
Wait a minute, you drew both of these?
yeah.
And colored them? Oh, they're good.
It wasn't on the same page. It was like this one was on a different picture, and I just take both of them and put them together.
So you drew one over here, one over there, and then just put them together?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's terrific.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I wish every kid could do this.
Yeah. I wish I had a computer at home, but.
I'm promising him that as soon as I can, I'll try to get him one, but he wants one so badly, I don't know if I could ever afford to give him the one that he wants, you know. So I know he's planning on that, you know, and I'm saying to him, well, you know. But I can't really promise him that, yes, you'd get a computer, you know, but I'll try.
His mother knows firsthand what Kevin can do with computers.
Well, this picture is, that's his father and I. His father died last year. And because we had never had a family portrait, this was my driver's license and that was his father's driver's license. And he put them together to make just a photo of his father and me together, because we never had a picture of us together. And this was taken just before he died. So it's like his last picture, you know. And Well, what can I say? I mean, I was so impressed with it, you know. That's the sort of thing that Kevin is doing at his age.
It occurs to me that the kids who come here, you may in some perverse way be making it harder for them to go back into school once they've seen Paris. How do you keep them down on the farm? Sort of
Right.
thing?
I think when they come here and realize that they can do so much that they didn't think they could do, hopefully that builds a lot of confidence within them, and that carries over to their school. So that's a real positive effect. Even if they go back to school and say, listen, you know, I can do, and they see this, what they're doing at the schools with the computers, and say, this is outdated, I can do so much more at this clubhouse. Maybe that in some way will affect the teacher to think, hey, there's something else out there, maybe I should start asking some questions about what else is out there, come to the clubhouse. I mean, it's very hard for them to do this, given the structure of the schools, but, you know, whatever they can do to make that change. I do think there is some minor disadvantage in that they see, but I don't think it's worth closing their eyes to what's out there.
The computers at Kevin's school, not the computer clubhouse, run what are called integrated learning systems for drill and practice. Critics call it drill and kill. Integrated learning systems are most often found on the computers in schools poor children go to.
In contrast, in many suburban communities, the kind of technology that's provided are tools. The computer, a word processor, database, spreadsheet, drawing programs, CAD/CAM programs, things where kids can create, where kids can make things, where kids can express themselves, their thoughts, share that information with each other. And these are so that the middle class kids are being able to use technology in a way that is going to make them controllers of their lives. And the lower class, the poorer kids, are being controlled by the technology just as they are in society.
A lot of the equipment that's been purchased in urban school settings was purchased with Chapter 1 money, which is money for underserved communities. And in underserved communities, a lot of time the focus is trying to get children's basic skills up. And drill and practice was seen as one vehicle for getting those skills up to a higher level.
Chapter 1, the federal program for disadvantaged youth, is the source of technology money for poor schools. $375 million last year alone. That money is paid for thousands of computer labs like this integrated learning system in a New York City public school.
And that money, by and large, has been used for a kind of technology use in which students are the objects of instruction, not the controllers of the technology. And so these products, drill and practice products, integrated learning systems, are set up so that kids have to respond to a very narrow set of questions, a very narrow set of activities. Those are graded and marked and put through reports, and then they're sent on to something else. They're not in control. In fact, the teachers aren't even in control. These integrated learning systems are in control, which are created by large companies that have decided that these are the things that kids should learn.
That's taking a very narrow approach, given the range of capabilities that the technology offers kids for learning. They're not just drill and practice machines anymore. We've got incredible tools for learning in every subject matter area.
So what would you say to that principal or that superintendent?
That's using it so narrowly, I'd say wake up, get out there and go see some other schools and look at what's possible. You've somehow been sold a very limited bill of goods here.
When it comes to resources, most of the $2.4 billion schools spend on technology goes for hardware and software. Computers, Laserdisc, CD-ROM drives, you name it, they bought it. Companies selling technology fight bitterly to dominate the school computer market for two reasons. One, it's a lot of money. And two, these companies would like nothing more than to have millions of students grow up accustomed to working on their brand of computer, developing brand loyalty that will translate into lots of individual sales later on. So there's money for technology. That's not the major obstacle to an educational revolution. Unfortunately, the commitment ends when it comes to spending money for training. Only about half our schools have a basic computer course for teachers. What's the point in giving teachers all this powerful, potentially wonderful equipment but no help in learning how to use it.
The fact that there's technology present, it's rather like putting an automobile in your driveway. Some people may go no place, and some people may go to California, and some people may run into the nearest tree. But many folks will spend years sitting in their home wondering what they might do with that car that was in their driveway.
I think we've got to be willing to invest significantly in professional development time for teachers. The idea that you come to school and you start teaching at 8:15 and you don't stop until 3 o'clock. Well, when is the time set aside for you to learn, for you to stay up to date?
Where training is available, it's often under very difficult conditions. In New Orleans, teachers have to travel to this dilapidated building on the outskirts of the city. Inside are dozens of computers, but not enough power to run even half of them at normal speed at the same time. Still, 1/3 of New Orleans teachers come here on their own time during the year. A year ago, this Technology Assistance Center in New York City would have been full of teachers learning to use computers. Today, it's empty, shut down along with 4 other centers just like it to save money.
This is really going backwards, and this is denying, for a minimal amount of money, the opportunity to be a leader, to offer leadership in this area, not only in the city, but nationwide.
Martha Kuffner and Margaret Suarez were midway through multimedia projects with their students when their training ended abruptly. Martha's 5th graders were creating animated folk tales on the computer, combining sound, text, and video. And you almost got it done, but you can't...
No, it's not quite finished. I have a few things in there, but not enough to really present it as a whole piece.
And when you put it on before, you said, well, there's video in here, but I don't know how to access it because
I know that there are some more pictures and there's some more speech in there, and I can't find it. I need the training to find it where it is.
Now, what project were you unable to complete? Because
we were doing a yearbook, so the children were, we took like favorite parts of the year, what they like to do, you know, whether it was their favorite subject or a favorite whatever, you know, trip, and we were collecting that and putting it into the computer. I had some children speaking in their native language, so they would say it, what they liked in their native language, and then they would repeat it in English. So we were collecting all of this. All of the children had a picture in the computer, although we didn't finish putting their voice into, because the time was just a major factor at that point too. So.
And these are 1st graders?
And these are 1st graders, right.
Wow. Now what do you say to them? I'm sorry we can't finish the yearbook?
That's what I had to say to them. I had a lot of disappointed children at the end of the year.
This is all very sad.
It is very sad, and I feel that our children are being cheated as much as we, our whole society, because the computer is a tool of the future, and children should become literate on it, and they use it as a tool to bring the world together and understand things, and I think we're losing that now.
Your teachers have these projects that are in the middle, just left hanging there.
That's correct.
It's a terrible message to the kids, isn't it?
It's a terrible message to all of us as educators of children, and in terms of getting children ready for the 21st century. You know what it says about education and, you know, the whole status of education, that it's not important to become computer literate or to just grow and learn in new and exciting ways. So it sent a very clear message that these kinds of things are not important for us in terms of preparation.
But lack of preparation is not stopping everyone. For example, when Jill Loviti was hired to teach at Summit Parkway Middle School in Columbia, South Carolina, she'd had almost no exposure to computers. Her principal told her, relax, let the kids show you. How did you handle it on the first day when you had to say, I think those are computers over there or whatever?
Well, on the first day I didn't tell them that I was completely illiterate. But after the first couple days, and I'd explained what we were going to be doing throughout the course of the year, and then we started in our first project, then I brought it up. I'm not all that familiar with this. If you have an idea, please come to me and we will work something out. And they are. They really are. They love the fact that I don't know too much about it because they love to teach me. And it's fun for me because they really are good teachers. They go through each step. Mrs. Lovoti, this is how you open up your HyperCard stack. This is how you change something. And it's good for them because it's a review for them. And there are some kids who aren't as strong on the computer as others, and we all gather on the computer at different times, and it helps the other kids who aren't as strong also, because I'm learning too, and it's not as intimidating for them.
Now, you're comfortable with that as a teacher? I mean, the old definition of the teacher is you're supposed to know the stuff, and you teach me, right?
Well, I think it's important for children to know that a teacher doesn't know everything. I don't know everything, and I never could.
Teachers are also learning to rely on each other and their computers. Prodigy, CompuServe, and America Online all have extensive electronic bulletin boards on technology and learning. Some teachers have joined smaller networks, like Middlebury College's BreadNet, which Dixie Goswami runs. BreadNet connects 100 teachers across the country, including Doug Wood.
I'd call it an online professional development network that teachers run and that constantly gets reinvented to suit their needs. So the conversations might start about assessment or about middle school reform, along block scheduling, and people can enter in and talk about that. But the big, exciting development over the past 2 years as the technology gets better is that teachers like Doug can develop curricula that bring their students online. BreadNet is not about technology. It's about devising a resource for teachers who want to work collaboratively across grade levels, across disciplines, and to just push back the walls of their classrooms.
The information superhighway is not exactly Main Street for most teachers. In fact, many people assume the opposite. The teachers are technophobic, that they're afraid of change, that they don't want to lose control of their classroom to kids who know more about technology than they do. But that's not what we found.
If they're afraid, they're really great actors. I taught school for 9 years, and Ken taught school. And if you told a teacher that painting her family blue would help her third graders learn to read faster, that entire family would be blue. Now, teachers are very eager. They're not afraid. They're not afraid at all.
I see the struggles they go through to get a phone line into their classroom. I see the struggles they go through to get a computer that some of them have to bring in their car to class every day and plug in and take home in the evening. So I'm very optimistic about what teachers can invent and do when they're given the resources.
Some teachers are apprehensive about technology, but a lot of teachers are willing to learn the basics of technology and also willing to let their students go beyond that. You have to be willing to do that, and I'm finding a lot of teachers who are now willing to do that.
Teachers that really use technology and use it well, it's taken them 5 to 6 years of their own time and tremendous support from their principal, from their faculty to use that technology.
So teachers apparently are not an obstacle. That leaves lack of training, lack of time, mistaken assumptions about both kids and computers, and obsolete buildings. All major obstacles that have to be overcome before schools can catch up with the rest of society. But as we've seen, there are examples to follow.
I know I can find classrooms around this country that exemplify what I think is ideal and really terribly, incredibly effective. My dilemma is that I can only take you to a few places. You know, I wish I could say to you, just go to your neighborhood. That's the ideal. That's the issue.
My message to school people is there's a parade, you've got to get in front of it or it's going to leave you behind.
Our children are called MTV babies. They are exposed to so much technology in their everyday life. School is going to become more and more foreign to them. There's going to probably be higher dropout rates. There's probably going to be more discipline problems. I just think we can no longer turn our backs to a technology that's going to enhance what our children are doing in school because they're doing it in their everyday life. We're going to even look more archaic than we already are.
It sounds like adapt or die.
I think so. I think so.
Adapt or die may seem harsh, but it's probably accurate. But obsolete schools aren't the grimmest prospect. The technology we've been talking about has the potential to be a truly democratizing force in our society. After all, these computers don't know whether you're rich or poor, black, brown, white, handicapped. All they know is whether you're competent. But if our schools can't give all young people a chance to become competent, then the gap between the haves and the have-nots, already wide, will grow even wider. And the consequences of breaking that promise go well beyond the schoolhouse door.
To find out more about this program, visit us at PBS Online at the internet address on your screen. production of South Carolina ETV and ACSN.